The reason I gave these bear market targets below for SOL so early that I got comments, you know, saying I'm stupid, I'm ignorant, I'm crazy, or whatever, right? I did it because I already knew that everything was going to lose 95% of its value, whatever, long before it happened. And because it's not my first cycle. Like anybody else in the crypto space, not even a TA person, knows that everything is going to lose 95%. So I just literally, all I did was measure, right? This is not fancy. Look at that, 95%. Is that a coincidence? No. That's why I was making videos way back here. Okay, wait, literally here. No matter what, $12 to $22 is where Solana's going, right? That video. But anyway, the reason I made those is I did it mostly to try to slap the class of 2021 in the face. Like, wake up. Everything's going down. And Solana was a hot name. And so I needed to, I did it for a visual. Now that the whole FTX stuff, you know, and its connections and support for Solana, and it's already hit it, when the stock market clearly has not bottomed, and Bitcoin has clearly not separated from the stock market, those two things combined, it's going lower. And these are my targets. Because they stay on the average slope of the entire bear market. And if at any point in time that there's a strong down move, it's extremely likely it will hit the bottom of this. So let's say price recovers, boom, 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 boom. And then there's some crazy sell-off in crypto. Vroom, where's it going? We'll look down to the bottom of this line. That's it. That's where it's going. And where it stops, if it aligns with an origin line, well, looky there. That's where it's going. Right? Yeah, it's not going to bottom. Honestly, it could go a lot lower than this, but those would be my next two targets. And all the reasons why. From a short-term time perspective, I mean, technically, this has bounced on an origin line, even though it's one of the baby origin lines, but it's still a damn origin line. And it gets added some power because of this horizontal here that I've had since 2021, right? Late 2021, but still. So if it were to come back up and get let's go to like the 15-minute chart. I mean, Solana does have permission. So look, two important lines. Well, actually, no, I just kind of finagled that, so I can get rid of that. But it does have permission to come all the way back up here. And because there's a key horizontal right above it, that shouldn't be more than about 10% above. Yeah, so right at 10%. Solana technically has permission with origin line rules. It doesn't mean it has to. It has permission to hit 20 bucks. But I'm telling you, once it hits it, if I were in a Solana holder, that's where I would definitely become a seller. And honestly, I would begin becoming a seller closer to there. So that's a big potential run. And again, that it's not my analysis that it will go to these places. I'm saying it does have permission. And they're actually really reasonable targets, but it's a pretty damn big range. So for Solana, you have an extremely obvious event or a trigger that will trigger this to be on your radar. Like, hey, this might be happening. Right now, no, it's not. It hasn't been triggered. What is that trigger? This right here. Price gets back above this, 15 bucks, and uses it as support. So what that means is if the price of Solana skyrockets like this fashion here, all the way up to 16 bucks. What does that mean per what I just said maybe 15 seconds ago? It means it's going to come back down and touch it. It needs to use it as support before that's in play, period. Even if it's consolidating under here, it doesn't matter. It will have to come back down to test this neckline of the inverse head and shoulders, that's in play. Everything has an inverse head and shoulders right now. I don't like using pattern trading terminology, but everything has that right now. So it needs to use this as support first. And it's a nice round number, 15 bucks. Your breakdown point for Solana fans doing TA, copy this line. and drag it out all directions, like to the beginning of price, drag it out like a year and a half, because it's going to be in play, probably in a year and a half, assuming Solana survives. Let me go to the 1 hour chart. And let me make this a little brighter for anybody who might want to cut, because this is going to be your trigger point to the downside. So the 1 hour candles on Thursday, November 10th. Those bounced on it perfectly. And then if you extend that to this candle wick here, so it formed the bottom, raced up to the top, and it's higher low. So 1, 2, it's the third green 1 hour candle, that the bottom of the wick. If you connect a line there and extend it in all directions, you know, keeping it there, you're going to have your trigger point, and it's probably going to be a line you might want to keep on your chart because it's one of the origin lines. All right, your trigger point to the downside is this origin line. It's more likely than not going to have to use it as resistance before it heads down to this next area or back down to 12 bucks. But right now, 12 bucks is not the primary thing in play on the short-term time frames because it's above the origin line. So then one of the next two things that were going to happen is either you break above this and use it as support, or you break below this and use it as resistance. And we already know our target for the downside, or or lower. It will hit this or lower with a very, very high likelihood, right? After this is resistance, not just falling below. It could go here, come back up, 8% run up, and then come down. And then we have the exact trigger point to the upside. We know it most very likely needs to use it as support. And then if it can do that, we know where it's going to the upside. But until then, you're likely going to flop around in this triangle right here. Until Bitcoin and SPX move. It's just going to fill this out. And it's going to be very clear when it comes out of that triangle, that shape, based on my origin line, okay, is the bottom of it, and the macro horizontal 15 bucks is the top. The next move happens when it comes out of this triangle, and it's going to be very obvious. Just like Ethereum's price analysis, it's just so obvious right now because there are so many macro things in play, and they're very tight together. So honestly, playing Solana looks pretty damn decent too, especially that upside move. Woo, that could get dirty. Man, I just don't know if SPX and Bitcoin are going to allow this to happen. I mean, I could see this in play though. And that's your Solana, I guess, kind of long-term scope from the beginning of the video and the short-term scope right here, and exactly how it will behave regardless of whether it goes sideways. It'll be in the black triangle. If it breaks out of that triangle, we know where it'll go and how it'll look. And if it breaks down below, we know how it'll look and to where it'll go minimum. Back down to 12 bucks. And that should get you through, the next 5 to 10 days of Solana price action.